Balake. Where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Aaron.
Aaron is present. Thanks for joining me, everyone, yet again for a little bit more SPTV, where every day is a good day not to be in a cult. Well, I'll tell you what, Scientology done messed up again this time. They gone done diddly do, stepped in a big old pile of poo-poo, and they inadvertently confirmed the numbers that I put out in a video about 8 weeks ago. Of how many Scientologists there are in the world. And I broke it down in this video. I used a spreadsheet. I broke it down by continent, by management echelon, by type of organization. And I showed that even if Scientology announced that L. Ron Hubbard himself had returned and would be announcing the release of OT 9 and 10 this weekend at your nearest organization, Scientology would not be able to scrounge up more than 35,000 members in the entire world. Now, many people are shocked when I try to explain that Scientology really is that small. Scientology claims to have millions of members. In fact, specifically, in the late 90s, early 2000s, I remember them using specific numbers such as 10 million, 11 million, 12 million. Miscavige had given management orders that they had to keep raising the number. Otherwise, it would look like Scientology wasn't expanding. And when you compare 10 million, 12 million to 35,000, I'm not good at math, you guys. I grew up in a cult, but it seems to me that that's a pretty big discrepancy. Well, in a promo piece that Scientology put out last week that Mike Rinder put up on his blog post, they inadvertently confirm my numbers. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Here's Mike Rinder's blog post. How many Sea Org members are there? And this is a promo piece put out by the Church of Scientology Advanced Organization, St. Hill, UK, otherwise known in Scientology as AOSH UK. This is their Sea Org base in the UK that delivers Scientology's confidential upper OT levels. Okay, so this is a promo piece for the Sea Org, and I guess the pitch here is that the Sea Org members are the elite of Earth because there's only one Sea Org member for every 1.18 million people on planet Earth. Well, Mike Rinder's better at math than I am, and he figured out that means Scientology is saying there are 6,800 Sea Org members in the entire world. Now, everybody knows that Scientology isn't capable of putting out an accurate figure about anything. Everything tends to be exaggerated by many factors, even orders of magnitude. And yet, let me show you here the spreadsheet that I used in my video about, I don't know, might have been 12 weeks ago now. I'll put a link to it up above. Here is an image from that spreadsheet where I show headline number 35,725 Scientologists worldwide. I cannot emphasize enough that this exercise was intended to be a very charitable, generous estimate so that no Scientologist in the world could look at my breakdown and argue with my numbers. The fact is 35,000 is a very high number, and it is intentionally high. Again, I wanted any Scientologist watching this video to go through this and go, oh gosh, not only is he being fair, he's actually being generous. Now, in Scientology, there are multiple different echelons of what would be considered a staff member, and Sea Org members of the Sea organization are the highest echelon of staff members in Scientology. So for this breakdown, I show Sea Org, my count for number of Sea Org members, my count for number of Class 5 staff members, and my count for estimated number of mission staff members in the entire world. Now, you'll notice here that I have an estimated Sea Org member worldwide figure of 5,225. And for any of you who are interested, you can see exactly how I get my breakdown of that. These are all the different Sea Org bases in the world. And this is just a rough estimate of how many Sea Org members are on each of those bases. In addition to the various Sea Org service orgs around the world, I accounted for Scientology's continental management units. You can see the ones I've accounted for here. I have the various entities that comprise middle management. I have the various entities that comprise international management. And I show my work in this whole thing, again, not to be too redundant here, so that Scientologists who stumble upon this kind of information can look at this and go, oh shit, he's being fair, he's being generous, he's being accurate, he's being detailed. It's really hard to argue that these are the real numbers. Now let's revisit some of my top line numbers. I'm saying my top line number for Scientologists in the world is about 35,000. Well, Scientology says the real number is closer to 10 million. That is a difference of 285x. And yet, once Scientology reveals what they say is the number of Sea Org members in the world, and you compare it to my extremely detailed estimate, you see that the number they put out is only 30% higher than the number I arrived at myself just from personal knowledge and experience. So even if just for the sake of argument, we wanted to pretend like Scientology's number of Sea Org members was accurate, which we know it's not because they never put out accurate numbers. They're always grossly inflated. But just for the sake of argument, let's say Scientology's Sea Org number is accurate. And let's say my numbers are low by 30%. Well, let's increase my estimate by 30%. That gives us just over 46,000 Scientologists in the world. That is still 215 times less than the amount of Scientologists Scientology management has been claiming exist for decades now. It is, of course, much safer to assume that Scientology's Sea Org number is inflated, in this case, by at least 30%. If we reduce my 35,000 estimate by 30%, we're right around at 25,000 Scientologists worldwide, which really is closer to the accurate number. And I say closer, 25 is even high. The problem with using a number like this and saying this is how many Scientologists exist is it's hard to define what is meant when you even say Scientologist. Like if we say there's 25,000 Scientologists in the world, that doesn't mean 25,000 Scientologists are going into a Scientology organization every week or even every month, or honestly, even every year. Scientology has this weird thing where there's a lot of people who call themselves Scientologists who would rather not be Scientologists, but they're sort of stuck in because of friends and family members and business relationships. But they also have this other thing where you could have a Scientologist who hasn't been active in 5 years or 10 years and may not have any plans to do any more Scientology at all. But if you were to contact them and say, hey, we just reviewed all your auditing files and everything, and we've determined everything that was done with you was totally incorrect and you were mishandled. And if you come back in now, we will audit you up to clear for free. Scientology, if they were to do that, they never would. But if they were to do that, they would be able to bring people back in. So it's a very fuzzy line between who is and who is not a Scientologist. And that's why even trying to arrive at precise numbers it's difficult. To some extent, it's pointless. One of the main reasons I do the exercise is to try and bring it home to people who are still stuck in the Scientology bubble, that you are being lied to about things that you're actually able to see with your own eyes. And you're still being lied to about these things. Things like how many staff members there are in the world, how many Sea Org members there are in the world, how many public there are at your local Scientology organization. These are things that you can see with your own eyes, and you can do some math and you can figure out there's only about 25 to 35,000 Scientologists in the world. And yet management will tell you there's millions upon millions, at least 10 million members. Guys, if they're lying to you about this stuff that you can see and verify with your own eyes, you must realize that you're being lied to about the stuff that you can't see. Things like OT 9 and 10. Things like up through OT 15, things about the true nature of LRH's life, his private life, his personal life, his marital life, his kids, things like whether David Miscavige was ever supposed to be the one to take over Scientology. Spoiler alert, he wasn't. Miscavige was actually able to steal control of Scientology from Pat Broker and Annie Broker once he learned that Pat Broker was lying about being in possession of the unreleased upper OT levels after L. Ron Hubbard's death, and that in fact, there are no upper unreleased OT levels. OT 9 and 10 doesn't exist. So it might seem like I'm sort of getting on a tangent here from the number of Sea Org members in the world to whether OT 9 or 10 even exists, but it's not really a tangent. It's actually almost the point of showing to you that management is lying to you about stuff you can see with your own eyes. You must realize that you're also being lied to about everything that you can't see with your own eyes. The more people wake up and stop throwing away their time and their money and their children and their family members through disconnection, the more people wake up and withdraw their allegiance to this destructive cult that is destroying families, the better place this world will be, and the happier everyone will be who, after you leave this cult, and you can now live your life actually with some freedom of thought and belief and expression, all the things you've kind of convinced yourself that you have in Scientology, but you really don't. All right, everybody, that's all I have to say on this for now. By the way, for any of you former Scientologists, even under the radar Scientologists, who have very current information about the number of staff members, public, Sea Org members at your local organization, and you'd like to share them with me, contact me confidentially, or otherwise you can reach me at growingupinscientology@gmail.com. And if I need to update my spreadsheet here or there to have my estimate be as accurate as possible, I would be happy to do that. All right, everybody, that's all I got. Thank you for watching and listening. Thanks to everyone who watches until the very end, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here. Bye.